Welcome to the MMA Fan Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Stu and Blake.
I'm doing good. I'm just trying to find a shirt.
Why wear a shirt? Come on.
Go Skins, mate. Go Skins.
Go Skins. Go Skins. Let's all go Skins.
I'll get more sus message requests.
Yeah. Well, our ratings might improve, so just get your nipples out, and it'll be great.
You got to learn all this stuff, Joe. Sex sells, mate.
Sex sells. I want to use this now. I was going to say to you, can we? But now I want to use all of this good work. Unfortunately, we didn't catch any of your nipples. Unfortunately,
I'll get them out for a large mixed kebab. Probably.
I promise you that if we ever are if you're coming down to London for a fight, or if we end up in Middlesbrough, I will buy you a large mixed kebab, and you will get your nipples out on this show. That's the deal.
Yeah, that's an acceptable deal. As long as it gets a portion of chips as well, I'm happy.
Deal.
Well,
I'll throw them in the mix, mate.
What extra do we get for the portion of chips?
I just want a portion of chips, to be honest.
That's great. You're a cheap date, George Hardwick. I think you're selling yourself a bit short here, mate. Would you mind, George, just turning yourself landscape so you fill the screen a little bit more?
Let me get this.
There we go. There he is.
Wonderful.
There he is, yeah. Are you okay with us using nipple chat at the start of this show, George? Or
there's no better way to start, is there?
No, there's not.
Perfect.
No, there's not.
So there's been no intro. We've just been talking about nipples and kebabs. But ladies and gentlemen, we've got George Hardwick with us. Other than kebabs and nipples, how's life?
Life is very good. It's 7 weeks today until August 15th, Dana White's Contender Series, episode 2. And I'm like way ahead of schedule in terms of everything training-wise. Because the last fight was so low damage, I was straight back in the gym Monday. It's been more momentum, developing stuff immediately, because you can develop more technique out of fight camp and more kind of like those base physical characteristics out of fight camp. So straight back in it off that fight because it took no damage. And everything's ahead of schedule. And just keeping it measured, because we're back down to 3 rounds and keeping it measured, keeping that explosiveness there.
Do you think that's going to be of benefit to you, having had 5-round fights for your last 3 or 4 fights, and then going down to 3 rounds again?
So in actuality, it wasn't just 3 fights. I've been doing 5-round fight camps for years now, since December 2021. That was my first 5-round fight camp, and that was for the fight against Mehdi Ben Lakhdar. He got COVID on the day. Back in those crazy times, it was cancelled on the day, but I went through a huge, first 5-round fight camp. It was grueling. Then I was training for March. I was going to fight Daniel Burwado, an ex-UFC guy. That was training for a 5-round fight. 2 weeks out, it's he's not available anymore. Whatever happened to him? And I was like, wow, I'm going to take this fight, get that Chuck Liddell UFC 40 mentality. I'm still going to fight. And I fought Louis Capera, and that was at catch weight, but it still was a 5-round fight camp pretty much. Yeah. Then I had the title fight with Driscoll, Bungard, Jan Liassi. It's been 5-round fight camps for absolutely ages. And I'm kind of looking forward to the more condensed 3-round pace, even though I think 5 rounds suits me. That condensed 3-round pace, keeping things explosive.
George, tell us a little bit about how, what the process is for finding out you're going to be on the Contender Series. Because for fight fans, all of a sudden we see an announcement that George Hardwick's, going to be on the Contender Series. But what's the sort of process about, how do you find out about that? Are you, they reach out to you? Is there management? But what's the sort of process, mate?
So they reach out to the manager. The manager put it on to me. And then, I asked my brother and I asked my coach, Abdul, what do you think? Should I take this? And my coach, Abdul, just, man, a few words. He just says, go there, knock him out to get the contract. What's the question? I'm like, yeah, that's a plan. We'll do that.
It's that simple, isn't it? You just knock him out, get the contract, mate. It's easy. Yeah.
Simple as.
Well, I hope you take this as a compliment, George. But you've been on the show a couple of times now with your brother Harry, and we we've been talking about you whenever there's been a Cage Warriors card, when you won, because I think the last time you were on the show was maybe before you were crowned champion in that vacant title fight, I think. So you've had 3 fights since then. You've become the champ. You've defended the belt twice. And whenever your name has come up on this show, we have always been quite vocal in saying you should just be given a contract. You've defended that Cage Warriors belt twice.
In really good style as well.
In great fashion, like finishes, phenomenal, like body shot finishes and a great performance against Liassi as well. And we were like, what? When this was announced, I was like, it surprised me because I kind of thought, well, you should just be given a straight contract. You shouldn't have to go and prove yourself on the Contender Series because you've already proved yourself within Cage Warriors. Did you see it at all like that? And did you take that as a compliment? Because it's meant as a compliment.
Yeah, and there has been, a number of articles. I've seen it on Twitter. A lot of people saying it just deserved the contract straight off. And I massively appreciate everyone who was saying he should be straight on. I appreciate the support. I appreciate them vocalizing it. But I'm of the mentality that, especially these divisions, 45, 70, and especially 55, 155 is the premier division of the sport. There's fighters from all over the world with insane levels of skills that are just killers from all over the world. I don't think anything is deserved. Really, nothing is just deserved outright in this division. All I just see is there's all these fighters from all over the corners of the globe. I just want to scrap them all, whether that means Contender Series first or it was contract first. This time it's Contender Series. I'm like, sound. Get me there straight in front of Dana, getting that chance to get the knockout. Just simple.
And your opponent is going to be a Fury lightweight world champion, I believe, in Abdul Kareem AlSawadi. Have you watched much of his fights? Because I've, in preparation for chatting to you, I watched just a couple of his fights when he won the belt in his last fight and a fight before that. He seems very grapple heavy, very, very grapple heavy. Have you been watching his fights, and what do you think of him?
Yeah, he's got that. He's got a good top pressure. He's got that short, stocky frame. He has like that kind of dense hips and quads. He can get his weight onto people in the mount, force them into errors. He has that good grappling. He did have 2 fights. I think he was trying to plan on striking more in these 2 fights, but he got caught with a big spinning elbow in one. He got kneed in another one. He took 2 KO losses on the bounce. And I think that kind of pushed him back into grappling because then he's come on a 4-fight winning streak, which credits to him to get knocked out twice on the bounce and then come back with 4 fights winning.
Yeah.
Quite grapple heavy fight, as you said. I think that pushed him more back into the wrestling. Will he be as wrestle heavy in Contender Series? Because we know everyone wants to make that statement by throwing lefts and rights in Contender Series. I'll be prepared for either. I'm prepared for him to throw lefts and rights. I'm prepared for him to duck in and try and grapple. But, it's like ever since day one, since I was 15, I've been training with my coach, Abdul Muhammad. Same frame, boxer, wrestler, absolutely pioneered wrestling in the UK, was a Cage Warriors champion and a Cage Rage champion. That's been my coach since day one. So I can't be better prepared than that. And he's still sparring. Even though he's retired 15 years ago, he still spars and wrestles as many rounds, if not more rounds than anyone else.
Yeah, I've heard you talk about him in that way before. He does seem to have such a positive impact on yourself, and I'm sure everyone else at the gym.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be taking on the world from the little gym, MFA, with my day one coach. No gym hopping. I've come to different gyms to train to get different looks, but I'm based in MFA. I'm always based in MFA. So, when I won that title against Kyle Driscoll, it was from AKA. The big thing that made me happy was when I won that belt and came back to the gym, and I'm just looking around this gym, down a little shady alley. A lot of it's held together with cable ties and duct tape and just dreams generally. That was the happiest after I won the belt, and it's going to be that way when I get the UFC contract.
Fantastic. I mean, talking about other gyms, just through sort of seeing some of the things that you posted on your socials, you've been out to the States. Was that to do press and tell us a little bit about that? And I did notice that it looked like you trained at Syndicate for a little bit there. Like, how was that?
Yeah, so they flew me and Harry over to do like the pre-fight, the media package, and a lot of it's what they're gonna just put on just before the fight, the interviews, the photos, and they pretty much had us run through a full training session and getting pad work and strength conditioning on video, all that kind of stuff. And luckily enough, we had time to go and train at Syndicate MMA, and I love Syndicate MMA, and just from the one session I had there, really, really good sparring culture. I had a big open mat with loads of different people on it. And it was really, really good rounds. I'm looking forward to getting back there.
Fantastic.
What were who was in the gym that you were particularly looking at as like, oh, that's really cool that they're in this gym?
So there was I didn't get rounds with them, but there was quite a few big names there. Abdul was on the mat.
Oh, great.
His hand was in a pot and he was still sparring.
His hand was in a pot, did you say?
Yeah, his hand was in a cast or a pot or something, and he was still just getting rounds in, just pushing the pace.
He's mental. Have you seen him, the thing where he fell into the ice and then started beating up the ice?
Well, he dived in head first, didn't he?
Yeah. But then he went back with all his boxing gear and started punching it while he was hanging from a tree.
Probably
He's
still
nuts.
bleeding. Yeah, he's a great lad. Michael Chiesa was on the mat, saw him going around sparring, saw Khalil Roundtree. Obviously, Davy Grant was there. And the interesting thing is, me and Harry live about 30 minutes away from Davy Grant. And Harry and Davy Grant have always talked about sparring. But the first time they ever have a round together is like 9,000 kilometers away in Vegas.
That's amazing.
Superb. So what else? I mean, also see that we should also shout out other friend of the show, Oban Elliott, and Oban's going to be on the show as well. Did you catch up with Oban when you was out there?
Yeah, we were at the hotel kind of similar times, just having a chat. I think he's on the week after me, I think, if I remember correctly, 22nd. But yeah, it's just a small world type thing, isn't it? We bumped into him at the breakfast. I wasn't trying to order healthy breakfast because I'm like, well, at least it's 9 weeks out. I can just see the proper American breakfast before I go home. But it's just this trying to figure out the menu. Spinach omelette, that sounds healthy. And then it comes covered in cheese with hash browns and covered in sauce. Probably like 2,000 calories because the Stran over there is tremendously calorie dense. Yeah. But yeah, it was really good to see him. He taught me a new word that I've been using in my vernacular, mule. And
right. Could you give us an example of the use of mule?
So me and Oban Elliott are going to mule our opponents on Contender Series. That's a nice...
Mule your opponents. Does it kind of come from as in the animal, like the donkey, the mule? Does it originate from that, or do we not know the origination, where it originated from?
I don't know. I didn't really dive deep into the etymology of it. I just like the sound of it.
You've let me down there, George. I like to educate myself on all these kind of terms and phrases and stuff. You never know. I might play like a Welshman down the line, and I want to know where mule comes from. I need to know these things.
Well, probably ask Oban.
Yeah, that would be the smarter thing to do. Ask Oban. There you go.
Does there feel like a level of sort of camaraderie? Like, you said about, you caught up with Davey and obviously Oban. Does there feel like there's a sort of camaraderie, with the British fighters?
Yeah, because we always see each other, whether it's Cage Warriors events, whether it's other smaller regional shows. We'll have people cornered on it. We'll have amateur fighters, one of our lads from our gym, our coach Abdul's son, fought one of Davy Grant's lads, and it was both their debuts, and they're like 16 and 17. It was one of the best fights I've seen live. It was a brilliant fight. Yeah. You just build up that kind of camaraderie, and then suddenly you're all in Vegas.
Yeah,
like, this world's mad.
It is a mad world, and just I wanted to ask you about this, just because it's something I became aware of recently. Is that you were offered a UFC contract or a fight? Were you not in the Paris card last year? But it was quite short notice fight. Is that right?
Yeah, it wouldn't have been ideal at all. I was still. I love to get back to training really quick, but I got back to training too quick after the Driscoll fight, and there was too much bumped up, and I kind of set it all off again. So it kind of caused some minor injuries here and there, and then I get the call in like 7 or 8 days' notice. It's whilst I was in Crete, And I don't know how logistically feasible it would have been to get back. Still in question about the condition of my hands because there was a lot of thrown back and forth in that fight. And then the weight would have been difficult. It wouldn't have been ideal.
No. And were you ever nervous about turning them down at all? Or did you think, no, they get it, they understand? Or were you nervous about, like, oh God, if I turn them down, are they going to be dicks to me in the future?
No, I was never nervous about that, because if you're not really in the position or condition to fight, like, what can you do? You can't just beat yourself up about that. And I kind of wanted a few Cage Warriors defenses as well. You know, you work hard to get that 5-round experience and work yourself towards title fights and top of the bill. And I got 2 more title fights, title wins in Cage Warriors. That experience is going to help massively.
Absolutely. And when it comes to those Cage Warriors fights, obviously the performances have been spectacular, but I've also been blown away by some of the dance moves. I mean, there was some jazz splits. There was a lot of thrusting going on at one point. How much are you practicing these dance moves before the fights?
So I never practice. It's never a pre-rehearsed routine. If it's a routine, it loses the magic. It's just got to kind of come out in the moment. Well, you know, I'm always dancing. I'm always sticking my headphones in.
Yeah.
It might be like the Doom Eternal soundtrack, and I'm proper just going for it by myself when no one's around. But I'm always dancing. I'm dancing between sets at Unit 29 when I'm doing my strength and conditioning as like active rest. I just can't help it.
Nobody's putting George in a corner, mate.
No, is it? you are a natural.
I watched Dirty Dancing for the first time not too long ago. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I imagine you watched that with your other half, and I mean, you've got a killer of a brother, and I mean, is the missus scrapping now as well?
Yeah, she's had a white collar fight in a club. Yeah, she's training all the time, which is
fantastic,
which is brilliant. Yeah.
I hope no burglars are anywhere near the Hardwick house anytime soon. they're in trouble.
Well,
right.
I mean, we don't want to sort of take up too much more of your time, George. It was, essentially a good catch up to find out all about the Contender Series. Blake, was there anything else that you wanted to get in before we started to sort of wrap this one up?
No, I was very aware that you haven't even sat down, George. You're dancing in between fights. You do your interviews standing up. Is there anything? His cardio's relentless. It doesn't stop.
I'm a bit too caffeinated at the minute, I think.
We should ask as well, as Harry, is he all right?
Yeah, Harry's good. I think he's just having a nap or something. You know.
All right,
I thought he was upstairs in bed with his phone about this far away from him. Probably watching some jiu-jitsu match or a cooking video. One of the two.
Perfect. Well, do say that we said hi to Harry. Pass on our love to Harry. And we just wanted to mention again, it's August 15th. Abdul Kareem AlSawadi, the Fury lightweight champion, against our very own George Hardwick, Cage Warriors lightweight champion, on the Dana White Contender Series. And obviously, mate, we will be wishing you all the best of luck in that fight. We'll probably send you a message beforehand just to send you our best. And man, do the business, and we'll see you in the UFC.
Yeah, he trains Fury Fighting Championship. I train Cage Warriors, and whoever wins gets to say they officially train UFC.
Perfect.
That's all we need.
George, we're going to press stop on it. Don't go anywhere. Thank you very much.